Alrighty, guys. Welcome to another episode of NOVAtazz's Automotive Podcast, episode 11, season 3. And figured we talk about some the hot topic this last couple of weeks, which is the EPA trying to go after any modifications engine-wise to basically any car, whether it's used for street or strictly race. They're bearing down hard, and it's going to be an issue for anybody enjoying our hobby, whether you're building muscle cars or any of these new cars with tunes and blowers and turbos, whether you're using it to just add a little bit of extra horsepower on the street, or if you strictly are using this car for off-road race car purposes. I mean, they're not even allowing that stuff. So any car that has ever been registered for the street would then be illegal for any modifications to the engine or engine performance. So I see the chat is already fired up. Hopefully we have a good discussion. With me today, I have Chris from Firebird Nation, and I have Kat from Katarina's Garage. We'll see if anybody else pops in here. If not, we have all of you guys out there in the chat as well. I see Pilot. First, as always, CNC Auto Works. Matt MPG, welcome back. Matt, you missed it. I've been experimenting with different beers recently, so you'd be proud of me. Anyway, so I see we have Mecha Nuts. I think that, and Robert's Garage. Can't forget Robert's Garage. So hopefully we have a decent conversation in here, and I did post on my Instagram a link that you can link through SEMA, because SEMA is heading the R.P.M. Act, which is the what is it? It's how do they say it? It's basically protection for race cars, and they are trying to basically cut off the EPA from putting forth laws that are not necessarily helpful environmentally wise, because the amount of pollution some of these race cars are putting out is nothing compared to all of the cars that are out there for daily traffic. I mean, you got to think about the amount of miles that I would put on my TA when it was on the road versus the amount of miles that I put on the Kia Soul are two different things. And the limited amount of time that my Nova or TA would be on the road and running, even if it did put out a little bit worse emissions than the Kia does, it still would have very little impact. But some of these modern cars that are making 1,000 horsepower are putting out cleaner EPA cleaner emission numbers than their stock counterparts are. I was watching a few different episodes on YouTube the last couple of days, and the one guy has he's a Mustang Cat Delete running on E85, makes about 1,000 horsepower, and literally it burns cleaner than a stock Mustang with Cats does. So I mean, at that point, what's the point of having the catalytic converters on it if it's literally running cleaner than it would if it didn't have catalytic converters? I mean, than if it did. So I don't know. Doesn't make much sense at that point. It doesn't seem like that's a environmental protection issue versus a vendetta against race cars, against performance cars, period.
Well, and the thing is, like cars like ours, because like your Trans Am, like your Nova, and like my Mustangs, they've already been way past their date of when you'd think they'd be off, like still off the road type idea. And so by that, they're actually less environmentally dangerous than compared to a modern hybrid that
Well,
way.
and that's the other thing is yeah, you can look at like a modern hybrid and what it puts out emissions wise. Yeah, it may not put out a whole lot of emissions out the tailpipe, but how much environmental damage did it create just coming into existence? We're all about batteries and all of that stuff. Well, mining the stuff that it takes to make those batteries and stuff like that is way more damaging
Oh,
than the producing of the fossil fuels.
well, absolutely. Like the lithium mines here in Canada, because the majority of them actually are here. Which it's interesting how it works out because just to get them like first you mine them here for the most part in Canada, then they get shipped over typically to Japan where they're refined into batteries, then sent out again to wherever they're going to actually be, you know, put into cars. So by that it'd be done, 500,000 miles in before it even gets into your car.
Yeah, and I actually kind of agree with Mecha Nuts. He says that the street racing is what's going to end up killing the scene, and also the EPA is using it to as an excuse to shut down street racing, or they're using the EPA as an excuse. It kind of be. I mean, they could be using that route to stop performance cars being on the street. Um, and yeah, it is a bunch of idiots that literally have no respect for the hobby that they're in. Kind of like the accident that happened like a week or two ago down in Hershey, PA, that we talked about last week. And then you had that one down in Dallas, I think it was, with the dude driving the Camaro. Yeah, that's stupid stuff. That isn't helping any, but I don't think that's the main thing. Otherwise, they would be going a different route. Um, but yeah.
Well, see, and my sort of thing that I'm wondering too, because just by sort of reading it, it says any car that's modified in any way for performance. So with that in mind, even like performance tires would be a no-go.
Well, yes and no. I mean, they're talking about any modifications to the emission system.
Oh, okay.
So exhaust, anything with the engine whatsoever, into basically any part of
Bigger injectors, cold air kit.
Yep, anything that would mess at all with the engine and what an engine puts out.
Reprogram the computer.
Yep, any of that.
Oh, okay. I must have read it wrong then. Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like, I know this has been it's been on the table for a few years
It's
now,
been on
but
the
it's
table since
finally gaining traction.
Yeah, but I think it's been on the table since. I mean, they've been trying to do that stuff all the way back from the 80s.
Uh, yeah, actually, it started. I think it was in California back in the late '60s, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. That's why California has the most strict rules, and that's why they say if it's California legal, it's 50 state legal, because California has the most strictest rules. But, oh, excuse me. but they also have a lot of exemptions for race cars and cars that are designated for race use.
Oh,
That those cars don't have to follow those same rules. But with the new rules that they have out now, they don't even care if you're using it for race car use. Like, it's never was that it'll be trailered to and from the track every time. Their only exceptions are for professional race cars. So cars that were never registered for street use, never, any car that has been ever registered for street use will no longer be eligible for any performance upgrade, which will kill the amateur race car community. Period. I mean, let alone the street performance use.
well, yeah, I mean, and also just the companies alone that this would affect would be insane. Like, we have any of the, like Summit Racing, for example, would probably go under. Same as like Holly, any of those companies, really, any of these big companies, they would lose such a big amount. Like, granted, they might be able to stay afloat, but God, they'd have to
I
cut
would
back
say
so
it would
hard.
be really hard pressed because most of, I mean, they do have a market pertaining to professional performance products, but the
Yeah,
majority of their income is probably people like you and me. You
sure.
know, because there are so many of us out there that, you know, we carry the burden of them spending the extra lot of money on those performance oriented, like the professional oriented products. You know, because they're
Oh,
not going to be making as much money off of that as they would be, you know, hundreds and thousands of units of the street and amateur racing geared products.
oh, definitely true. And yeah, because it's just like, you know, I and the thing is, I'm lucky that I'm in Canada where this wouldn't affect me as much,
It
but I would
wouldn't
see the ripple effect.
it
Like,
wouldn't affect your what you're allowed to do to your car, but it probably would affect the availability of parts to do those things to your car.
oh, absolutely, that is true.
So like
Um,
you might be able to find older parts and stuff that out, but these companies not being able to market new stuff or be able to produce that new stuff here in the United States, which I mean I'm not saying that we're the only country that does aftermarket performance car stuff,
oh,
but you
you're the
got to
biggest one.
admit America is one of the biggest markets for it.
Actually,
Probably followed.
the United States is actually bigger than all of Europe for the aftermarket car scene.
Yeah, I think that Australia is pretty strong there as well too.
They are. This is true. Um, but per if I remember correctly, I read a thing a couple of years ago that per capita, that Americans spend on aftermarket parts like $1,000 more per year than what the Australians did.
Well, you got to think about it. Motorsports started here in the United States.
Yeah.
The first time two freaking hillbillies ended up with cars that could compete against each other, we were the first ones to see which one could make it down to the other end of the road the fastest.
Well, yeah. Well, like Henry Ford said, as soon as the second car came off the assembly line,
Exactly.
that's when the first race started.
You know, we gotta even if it's the same kind of car, it's my car's faster than yours. You know, and that's the way it's been here in America. I mean, it's an American pastime. You know,
Oh,
and literally they're taking one of the oldest American pastimes and literally slitting its throat.
yeah, absolutely. And they've been doing this for a long time. Like, just look at, well, hell, look at the crap with Laguna Seca. And it's looking like Laguna Seca might actually get shut down in the next few years because of all the regulations they've had to put in. Because of idiots building their houses next to a racetrack and complaining about
Yeah, I
that.
remember that from way back when. Yeah, I mean, like that's just like, you know, and a lot of our drag strips have been shut down for that same reason. It's like this drag strip was here before you moved here. You knew it was here. You know, why are you? If you didn't want to live next to a racetrack, why'd you move there?
Yeah, oh, exactly. Like, and it's just like, oh, because, and their excuse is just like, because houses are cheap and land is cheap. There's a reason for that, dumbass. Like, honestly, it's ridiculous. But, it is what it is.
All right, let's see. We've been here for a hot minute, so let's give us some points away for all of you guys that joined here in the beginning of the live stream. Hopefully this works. Let me start this so I can make sure that it's working. I see Roy Marcos in here. Country Boy Gas Garage has joined us. Any other new folks that I haven't seen? No, I think that's it. Welcome aboard, guys. Loyalty. Add points to all viewers. Let's go with 10K. 10K points heading your way.
Yeah, see, actually, because I just noticed Roy Marco mentioned about the old racetrack in Edmonton. I forgot about that. Because near Edmonton, it's not actually in Edmonton anymore. It's near it, like very close to it.
Yeah.
There is a professional racetrack there. There's actually a circuit as well as a drag strip, and it's Cashel Raceway. And they had to build another one outside of the city. I can understand because they have like Top Fuel and jet cars and stuff like that are ridiculously loud. So I can kind of understand that. But yeah, because Edmonton just got so big, they just pushed them out basically. But yeah, I forgot about that.
Mecca says it's the only track he has apparel from. I can't say that because I had some Dover shirts from when I was a kid for Dover Downs, PA, Dover Downs, Delaware. The concrete mile that NASCAR used to run on.
Monster Mile.
Yep, Monster Mile. I have a few other
They
things.
still do.
Is, I have asphalt from the Freedom Factory, which is the one that Cletus McFarland, the track that he saved down in, is that Florida? I do believe it's Florida. Which I definitely support anybody saving a racetrack.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you can drive around rural parts of Alberta and you'll actually notice a bunch of abandoned tracks. Most of them are 8th mile drag strips, but like there's one out by Raymond actually and I've actually been out there on the road. Like, you could still actually, if you got your car there, it's a little hard to because it's off road now, but you can still drag down that no problem. There isn't any issues with the concrete there.
Yeah. And the thing is if they had more of these drag strips open and made them accessible to people would more likely end up driving on those and taking their racing to off the street. And I'm not saying that street racing wouldn't still happen because there's an allure to it.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like anything else anybody else does that, speeding, whatever it is, people still do it because there's still that allure to doing it. The feeling of getting away with doing something. But you would probably have more people sticking to the racetracks, where you would have ability to have, EMS and things like that there to make sure that people were safe.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
and like the thing is, because last year, and we just like you can see the effects of it through the car community. In Lethbridge, every year in July, it's usually I think like the second weekend of July, there is a thing called Street Machine Weekend, and it takes over the entire city. But because of COVID last year, it canceled it. But actually, there was like an unofficial one where still everybody came for the most part. There just wasn't any official events. And because there wasn't any proper drag racing, there was a lot more tickets put out as opposed to normally.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is you get that whole thing. I'm sure there was a lot of illegal stuff that ended up happening last year because their regular venues and their regular places for these people to get that excitement wasn't available. I mean, just look at the car shows. Look at how many car shows popped up that weren't supposed to be happening. Where you had the large grouping of people showing up in one place, even though they weren't allowed to because, whatever, social distancing rules that were out that still happened because, life still goes on, and they will find a way to do it one way or the other.
Oh yeah, I was actually at 2 bigger car shows last month. Like one was in Calgary, which Calgary has like 1.4 million people, so their COVID cases were quite high. And that car show was huge, and then there was one out in Olds, which is they only have just under 10,000 people out there. And that's the first show that I put in my car. And and nobody was social distancing for that. Hardly anybody was wearing a mask for the second one there that I mentioned. But it is what it is. Like we're going to be starting up car meets locally too again because we're allowed to to a certain degree.
Right.
It's our restrictions aren't quite as bad, but also we've only had a total of 10 cases here in Sundre, and of those 10 cases, none of them actually live here.
Right.
So.
I wanna say thank you to Robert's Garage for the $5 donation to the live stream. Thank you very much. And as you can see, you are now the stream boss. You have clicked. I think it was Cletus was the last one that was up there. Yep. You have snagged Cletus's spot. See how long you stay there before Cletus kicks you back off, because he has a bad habit of doing that. And I'll also make sure to update my my recommended channels list to put you on there. Thank you very much. And Pilot also says, likes are free. Like the live stream, share this out with your friends. Let's get some more people in here chit chatting. The bigger the conversation, the more fun we have. No, you know what? You may not be able to stop the car community, but yeah, they can. If there isn't parts available, people aren't going to be able to modify their cars. And that's just how it is.
Yeah, like the only thing that I could see is like underground independent shops are gonna thrive if this happens. Because they're.
Yes, I do agree with that. They're going to push the culture underground. It is what they're going to do. They're going to push the car culture underground. But it's going to be harder for the people like you and me that, to be able to get to do these things, because it's going to end up just pushing the cost up, because parts are not going to be as easily accessible, which makes the parts going to be more expensive. Tunes are not going to be easier to get a hold of. It's going to be harder to get tunes and to find somebody that does tuning that wants to admit that they do tuning. And they're going to charge more because of it. You're still going to have, supply and demand. If they know that supply is not going to be there, they can charge more. The greater the risk, the more they can charge.
Oh, absolutely. Like, a lot of these shops, like I'm sure you'll see a lot more people building headers, for example. You won't see as many of the tune stuff. Like, I know there's one guy that he's approached me about doing some promotional stuff for him, but I'm not going to get too much into detail about that yet, because there's nothing finalized. But he's a mobile tuner. So he doesn't even have like a proper spot. He borrows a dyno, and he drives to like your house and tunes your car there.
Like if you've watched,
and there'll be more of those popping up for sure.
Yeah, if you watch It's Just a Sixt, his tuner, which he uses Lund, which is actually one of the companies that got nailed with this EPA. They basically stormed their shop, and they're a mobile tuner, so they'll tune your car even if they're not there. They have you do some runs, record your data, and then send it to them, and then they adjust the tune accordingly. But yeah, they got hit with a bunch, and like I said, if you can't get tunes for your modern car, like if I'm putting this EFI system in, if I wanted to tune it more than what this thing's already capable of doing, I need a tuner. I don't know how to read that stuff. I'm either going to have to learn how to do it myself, or I'm going to have somebody else do it. And if you can't get that tune for your car, you put a new performance part on it, you could end up hurting the engine because the computer doesn't know what to do with those new parts.
Oh, absolutely. Like, you actually see it here all the time. There's people that will put a tune on their car, and like most of those, tuners that you get, even the really nice ones, typically will just make the car run rich, which gives more power, yeah, but then when they try and do some pulls with it, it just blows up the motor because it's running too rich, right?
Actually, your motor won't normally blow up because it's too rich. 9 out of 10 times your motor blows up because it runs lean. Lean causes detonation. Rich is just not going to produce as much power. Rich is safe. Lean is dangerous. And honestly, you make more power the leaner you go. And actually, the leaner you go, the better your emissions. So a lot of race cars actually put out a lot less emissions due to the tighter tolerances now that we have computers than a street car does, because a street car wants that margin of safety. It wants it to have good emissions, but it doesn't want to run it too lean to the fact that the engine will get hurt. Whereas performance tunes, they push it more towards the lean side, because again, the leaner it is and the more timing, the better horsepower they're going to get out of it until it goes boom. They run it closer to that edge, which is why those cars, tend to produce less emissions, but also can blow up more. Not just the power, but the closer they are to that lean mixture.
Yeah, well, I've seen it just with actually them running rich though as well. Like, and I'm not talking, just a little rich, like obscenely rich, kind of how my car runs right now. It runs like crap because of it.
Well, yeah, you get like what you were talking about before the live stream. You'll get cylinder washout, where the gas literally washes the oil off the sides of the cylinder wall.
Yeah, exactly. And and that's the issue. Like, I mean, my 81 runs obscenely rich. Like, it's horrible. And that won't be for too much longer. I'm hoping the next couple of weeks I'll have that carb swap, but we'll see. Just need to get the car down to Carmen Gate for that. But yeah, like, you start it up and there's just a big black puff on the ground, and every time I start it, you can see it outside of just these black marks in front of my house on the ground.
Yeah, that's definitely running way too rich.
Oh yeah.
And it is correct. The Clean Air Act was not designed to eliminate competition vehicles. It's designed for the majority of the vehicles that are on the road for extended periods of time. And the other thing is again, it's about making sure that the car is running clean. Not that you're, I mean, honestly, I think that if you can prove that your car is meeting the standards or exceeding them, it shouldn't matter what you're doing to your car. I mean, because that's the whole point. The point is to make sure that these cars are putting out less emissions. And if your race car is putting out less emissions than a street car, well, then, what gives? That's exactly what the Clean Act was supposed to be for. It's to keep the cars that were not running well, that were putting out a lot of emissions, to keep those cars off the road. I mean, yeah, back in the day, race cars that were running off carburetors, sure, they had to run them rich at idle so that way they ran good, at high RPMs. So yeah, but with today's age where you literally have air fuel mixture tables, you can make sure that car is running right where it needs to be, whether it's idling at 600 RPM or screaming down the drag strip at, $8,000 RPM. With today's computer technology, you can make sure that car is running clean, at any point in time. So it doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, for sure. And actually, I'm noticing Mechanauts mentioned that they are targeting the coal rollers, which I'm not surprised by that.
I don't understand. Like, I mean, big old semi trucks rolling coal because, again, back before computer controlled and whatever. That's again the same thing as old school drag cars that would smell really rich going down the road because they're running on carburetors instead of a computer. But with today's day and age, to make a diesel roll coal, which is absolutely nothing to do with performance, those do not make more horsepower. They do not make, they actually run worse. They're forcing them to run worse. Honestly, the same thing goes with those cars that do the pop and bang when you let off the throttle. That is literally a tuner forcing fuel into the system after you let off the throttle. That's what causes that.
Oh yeah, that's like my 86 Mustang. Because of, it's weird. It's not because of a tune or anything, because that's a CFI thing. You can't tune it.
Right.
But it actually does that. It's like, if you do a quick crack of the throttle, it'll pop at you.
Yeah. I mean, to me, that's a sign of a car that's not running right.
No, it's definitely not. Like,
so,
and the thing is, it sounds cool, but I already know that I had a feeling that when I bought this thing, Yeah, like I've had the thing since October. I've put on just under 3,000 kilometers on the car since I've owned it. And as soon as I heard that, I'm like, okay, that sounds cool, but I don't expect this motor to last very long.
No. I mean, I'm all for loud engines and things like that, but I want an engine that runs good, not shoots flames. I mean, I could care less. I mean, there are things out there that we used to do way back in the day. You have an ignition cutoff switch where you'd rev the engine up really high, and then it would cut the ignition, so the raw fuel would literally dump into the exhaust system, and then you'd have something to create a spark down at the end of the tailpipe, and that's how you used to do flamethrowers back in the day. You could shoot a 3 or 4 foot flame out of the back of a car by doing that. And then as soon as obviously you would let off the switch, you would kick the ignition back on, start the engine back up, and actually burn the fuel. But then again, that wasn't what you ran on the street all the time. That was a show thing for events and things like that. It's not something like what these people are doing these tunes now, where like to me, I don't find it cool. I find it annoying, especially when I'm at car shows and you just hear them going rah, 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 bang, 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 bang. It just, to me, it's not that cool. I don't like I think they call that a burble tune or something like that.
Yeah, well, actually, like the car meets that we run here, we specifically ask people to not do any excessive revving and don't do burnouts, because just for that purpose.
Well, and that's an instant car meet killer, because the businesses and the local people not attending the car show don't want to deal with that. It's a nuisance. And if you want to keep your car show and you want to keep your your Saturday cruise or whatever, it's a balance between having fun and not pissing off the people where you're having your event.
Oh, for sure. And that's what we try and do, is just to keep everybody as happy as we can, because like a lot of car stuff has been canceled. And that's why we started these car meets actually out here. And because nobody else was doing them, we had people coming all the way from Edmonton, which is over 3 hours away, just to come to our car meet.
Yeah.
Which was like, oh my god, really? Like, there's nobody running a meet up there? Like, wow.
Mecca, you're gonna have to explain to me what the Ghost Cam tune is. I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
I'm trying to remember what that actually means. I can't remember for sure, because it's been a while since I've heard of that.
But yeah, I think we've got a pretty good chat going on tonight.
Good for you. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm assuming these people just didn't know where to look for these meets, because I'm sure there's a ton of them up in Edmonton.
Maybe not. Again, like, you have that one that Street Speed was going to that ended up literally, it lasted 3 weeks. 3 weeks, somebody did something stupid, and now they're not allowed back.
Yeah, sure.
And we've had that up here too. We, when I lived down in Reading, PA, we had a car meet at the local shopping center after the stores closed. We would have a car meet up there, and yeah, they got kicked out of there for freaking people doing stupid shit. And that's what it is. You have one person that decides to be, a fool and a show off, and not even like a good show off, like an idiot, like just literally like has no idea what the hell he's doing and has no idea how to control their vehicle, thinking that, I need to do something outrageous to gain respect of the people around me, and all you end up doing is just messing up everybody's night.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, and well, the thing is, because I've been noticing Roy's comments in the chat.
Yeah,
because Roy is actually he's from Edmonton, and we've actually discussed of actually meeting each other at some point. And with a couple of other the YouTubers that are up there as well.
Yeah.
Which, that'll be cool whenever we can figure out that happening, because that'd be a sweet collaboration too.
Yeah, I do believe me and Roy will be joining Cletus's live stream next month. Or it's the end of this month. It might be the end of this month or next month. I forget the exact date. I have to go back and go look. But we're going to be joining his live stream as his guests. because we both have a lot of similar interests. We're both in the modeling, even though I'm just getting back into it. I haven't done it since I was a teenager. Still waiting on a few things. But yeah, so we should be on that live stream, the next one. So if you are not subscribed to Stuff with Cletus, please go do so. And watch for us to be on there, me and Roy. Yeah, I think he has somebody that. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it is maybe for May. I think it's right after my birthday. So I think it's like May. I want to say maybe May 18th. I think. Come to think of it. There you go, Mecca. Yeah, I mean, the thing is the more we can get this out there, and the more that we can show rally support it, support behind the movement, it may change their minds to going through with it or not. Not the R.P.M. Act. There's that we want to go through, but I mean, maybe EPA might back off. But it's only going to be a matter of time before they pop their heads up again. Because I mean, we dealt with this back in 2015, 2016. SEMA was able to help was able to get them to back off then. Obviously, it's only been 4 or 5 years, and they're right back at the bit. So, at the end, I think it's delaying the inevitable, but we got to do what we can.
Well, until there is because the thing is, to do this is just asinine. Until there's no gas left, that's when we should be talking about this.
And the thing is,
more so,
we got plenty of gas. I mean, there's so
much gas there's a lot. I know.
And especially with the more people are using, electric or hybrids, obviously the less gas we're using. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, if they're switching to ethanol, we have gas as long as we have corn.
Yeah.
Corn is a renewable source.
Yeah. Oh, you can even because I remember having this discussion back in junior high. So this was about 12, 13 years ago for me. And I had this discussion actually when biodiesel was becoming a big thing.
Yeah, they can run cars off of soy, I think, too.
Oh yeah. Pretty much any plant can be used for it. Anything that grows can actually be used for this, which is kind of interesting. Provided it's comes from the ground and not like a tree or something like that, because you can't use that. I mean, you can, but it's not the same thing.
Mecca's got a very good point. You don't think that they understand efficiency and power go hand in hand. No, look at the 80s. Look at the 70s and 80s. I mean, they thought that by turning the power down on the vehicles, they would reduce emissions. And in fact, those cars put out worse emissions and worse power, and actually had to use more fuel to do less work than their counterparts did just a few years before that. It wasn't until the age of computers and stuff like that they were able to swing that back around the other direction.
Well, yeah, I mean, hell, look at what Chrysler is doing right now with just throwing a Hellcat and everything, right? But if you actually look at the emissions of those Hellcats compared to what there was in the 70s and the 80s with these motors, it's a hell of a lot better.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're producing a lot less emissions, and you're making 700-800 horsepower more. You can get a lot more work done with less emissions than you could have in the 80s.
Yeah, exactly. And I know for a fact that once because on my 81 Mustang, I'm really fortunate that all it has is an EGR valve. It does not have an air pump on it, which is surprising.
In the United States, it'd have a catalytic converter, too.
Well, yeah, it's got a cat on it as well. But the thing is, I was talking with the guy, and he was parting out a Mustang, and he had an 82 with the inline 6, and he had a bunch of AC parts, and that might be interesting, but I didn't go through with it. However, his 82 has an air pump with the inline six, which surprised me actually because my 81 doesn't.
Yeah, here in Pennsylvania, most of the inline sixes didn't have an air pump. The V8s did.
Which makes sense.
Like my Nova's the same way. The inline six on my Nova did not have an air pump. When I threw the V8 in the car, the 305 that I originally threw in there, when I first went to go get it inspected, they're like, "Oh, you need an air pump with that," and I said, "No, I only need to have what factory came with this car." This car was originally equipped with a inline six, was never equipped with an air pump on the inline six for this year. So I got away with having to have a catalytic converter on it, and I had to have the EGR valve there. Needless to say, it was completely smashed with a freaking, 2.5 pound sledge and barely resembled any semblance of what it was supposed to do, but it was on the vehicle. I didn't have to actually pass emissions. Just all of the factory equipment need to appear to be there. Because that's how the rules are written. Because of how old the car is.
It's so weird to hear that. Because here, at least in Alberta, we have zero of that.
Oh, I don't have any of that here. This was down, like, up here where I'm at now. There's certain parts in Pennsylvania where you don't have emissions at all. You only have to pass a safety inspection. This, where I'm at now, has no emissions. I don't have to run a catalytic converter. I don't have to run any emissions products on my car whatsoever, because we live in an area where they consider the population density. So because the population density is so small, less of an impact on the environment because of less vehicles, so they don't require it. But down when I lived in Reading, obviously that's a much denser area because it's right by a city, so they require emissions around there. But again, with a car as old as mine, it only needed to have the emissions stuff on the car. They don't actually test it though. So there's no tailpipe sniff.
That's interesting, actually, that it's that way.
So I actually had to go buy catalytic converters for my Nova, but they were hollow. There was nothing in them. They were just there.
Oh yeah, and Roy is mentioning that Alberta is very lax on emissions. Yeah, we really are. Like, out of all the provinces, we have the least amount to worry about. Like, there are other provinces that don't have emissions stuff, but Alberta has always been that way, because I think Saskatchewan's kind of flip-flops, same as Manitoba, and Ontario is always doing that, constantly thinking, are we going to get rid of this? Are we going to keep it? And
I got lucky because the Trans Am that's sitting behind me has a 2.5-inch stainless steel mandrel bent exhaust. There's no spot to put catalytic converters in that system. I would literally have to cut up a stainless steel exhaust to put some freaking catalytic converters in it if I still lived down where I was at. Or I would have to find a mechanic that would look the other way.
Yeah, which I'm sure there's a few of those.
There are a few. There are a few out there that know that this is a muscle car and that it's not going to see that much street use. And that, the other thing I could have done is I could have bought a secondary exhaust that I throw on it just for inspection. So you throw it up there for inspection, you get the car inspected, you take it back off, you put your performance exhaust back on, you're done. So, I mean, there are ways around everything. But then again, I get pulled over with that exhaust on the car, I still get fined.
Yeah. Yeah, well, of course.
Not now, because I live where I live and I don't have to have them on it, but if I were to still be registered down in Reading, it would have to be that way.
Yeah. It's just so weird for me to hear, though, because I'm so used to not having any at all, period, like, for my entire life. So
the thing is Mecca says he grew up deleting emissions on everything immediately. Yes, and I did that when I didn't understand. When, you still grow up with that stereotype that emissions kills your vehicle, kills performance. Yes and no. Emissions devices might kill performance, but the cleaner the exhaust is coming out of your engine, the better your engine is running. So, I mean, you still want to strive for that car to have the best emissions out the tailpipe that you can possibly give it, because that means it's the most efficient that engine is running. You know, you want that engine to run very efficiently, because the more efficient it's running, the more horsepower it's going to be making. You know, because it's literally burning everything that goes in. It's maximizing the most potential that it can. You know, but the problem is emission control devices, they don't make an engine run better. They just try to clean up the exhaust gases coming out instead of fixing the actual problem. It's a Band-Aid. A catalytic converter is a Band-Aid. A catalytic converter is saying, well, we don't give a shit what it's doing before it gets here. We're just going to make sure that we clean it up after it gets to us, instead of fixing the problem itself and making the engine run better so it actually burns cleaner. You know, I would much rather a cleaner running engine and not need a catalytic converter to still pass emissions sniff test. I mean, that's honestly what I think the EPA should be even freaking happier if you can get an engine to run clean without having to use a catalytic converter. Because then that means the engine itself is actually running clean.
Yeah, well, and the whole thing with that, because everybody thinks, oh, you know, that engines are really bad for the environment, when it's like, it depends on the motor. Like, don't get me wrong, my 81, yeah, it's terrible for the environment right now, even with the catalytic converter still in it and with the GR, with how rich it's
Yeah.
But, you know, there are those vehicles, like you mentioned, that way, that are quite efficient and make a lot of power without, you know, being bad for the environment, or as bad anyway. Yeah. And the thing is, and because of this whole like electric car movement, especially lately with Teslas and everything, that's what I think is swaying the EPA more.
Well,
to get everybody into
they're trying to push the gasoline cars off the street.
Yeah. Oh, of course. And
they're trying to push people into buying electric vehicles. And the thing is I don't buy it. I don't think electric vehicles are better for the environment. I don't.
No, that they aren't. Like, it actually takes, I remember reading a study that they did. Now, this is a little outdated because this was back from, I think, 2010, 2011. So they've gotten a little better since then. But just with the lithium for the batteries in like modern electric cars, the thing is, not all of it is recyclable. Mm-mm. There was only, at the time, it was, I think, 80%. The rest of that just gets buried. And with all those batteries start to leak over time and creates havoc, actually, on the environment in that area.
There was a study, and I brought this up several times before. Old school Gremlin, AMC Gremlin. It had a less environmental impact from production till the end of its life cycle, say 25 years, than a Prius does just in production.
Oh yeah. Actually, and yeah, I was gonna.
That's kind of going to the extreme too, because I mean, you got to think about it. Any car put out today is going to have a bigger environmental footprint than a car from the 70s does, because of all the wiring, the foam, the plastic, all of the synthetic materials in a modern car, and the just what happens with those. What? Streamlabs is now deleting my messages. What did it say? Why are you deleting my messages, Streamlabs?
Yeah, I just noticed that. Unless he somehow was flagged because of...
Oh, did he post a link? Yeah, you can't post links. I guess that's why he did it.
Oh, okay, that's why.
Yeah, Streamlabs is, and that's for my protection. As well. You can't post links, and I don't have all swearing blocked, but gotta be careful. I do have trolls that pop up in this channel, and they like to, So like I said, there was no link posted. Then what the hell is its problem?
My only thing that I'm guessing, because it's deleted a few, I wonder if it somehow got him
all
for
of his
spam.
posts. It deleted all of his posts going back, but yet he never posted a link.
Yeah, actually, it deleted every single one. So I wonder if somehow he got flagged for spam. Because he's put out a lot of messages.
He might.
Which would be
But that's
dumb.
stupid, too.
Yeah, oh, it is. Like, it's not like he's spamming at all. I mean, I get the same thing, actually.
It's part of why I have monitors in here, moderators, is to help watch. And like Pilot said there was no link posted because Pilot's one of my moderators.
Yeah.
I don't know if you are, Kat. You should be because you're up on the
I am.
You are?
Yeah, I
am. Rory should be too.
Roy? No, Roy isn't.
No, Roy is now.
Really?
I tend to make anybody who's constantly here and I know has intentions and whatever. But that's BS, man. Streamlabs, I'm disappointed in you. I'm sorry about that, Mecha Nuts. I'm sorry. That was kind of annoying.
Yeah, like that is ridiculous.
But anyway, back on topic. But yeah, it's just I don't know. I mean, I think that we were cleaner in the 60s, you know, with the products and the materials that we were using versus today. I mean, a lot of the stuff we use today isn't recyclable or doesn't get recycled. I mean, look at the plastic bottles. I mean, just that alone.
Well, but that's only a thing in a couple of provinces in the States. Because here in Alberta, we actually do recycle our bottles.
We recycle plastic here. It's not a matter of that we don't recycle. It's how many of those actually make it into recycling.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of them that do get burned. That is true.
Not just burned, but the thing is you guys, and burning plastic's not much better either because that produces, you know, harmful chemicals that get released into the air. But what happens is the ones that end up in landfills end up on the side of the road, end up in water systems and out into the ocean. You know, and it's not just here in the United States. It's not just in Canada. It's worldwide. You know.
Oh, yeah. Like the thing is, there was a bill that was passed here in Canada of banning single-use plastics, and it's supposed to go into effect, I think, in a couple of years.
I don't know
when
if I'm necessarily
the dumb part
against that.
Well, like, the thing is, the dumb part was, like, here in Alberta, we actually have with, for example, there are some stuff I can kind of agree with, you know, like plastic straws and whatnot. That's understandable. But there is other stuff like, for example, it's regular water bottles where here in Alberta, we're able to recycle about 95% of it. And what we don't, they've actually come up with a clever way of, they've been able to burn it, but haven't actually produced not very harmful, like, gases at all.
Right. But the problem is, okay, you burned it, right?
Yeah.
But that means you still have to produce more plastic. You know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. It is bad for that. But the thing is, their argument was, though, is all the ones that are getting out into the ocean and stuff like that. Well, that's the rest of the country, not Alberta, which kind of pisses me off. That's all.
Right, but it doesn't matter. Even, okay, you burn it or whatever, you're only burning, again, the ones that end up getting collected. It still doesn't solve the problem for the ones that don't ever make it to a receptacle. Whether it is the trash can or the recycling can. So, I mean, again, that's just like a catalytic converter on a car. It's a Band-Aid. You know, yeah, we're recycling 95% of the bottles that make it into the receptacle.
They need to do it like New York State.
But what about
Michigan.
the 70% that never make it into a receptacle?
Yeah, that's more common where you guys are versus here. You do see bottles on the side of the road and stuff like that, yeah, but it's nowhere near as much. Because every single time you buy a bottle, like, a bottle of water, a can of pop, anything like that, or even a bottle of like pop, and even milk jugs. You pay a deposit on those when you buy them, and then you get the deposit back when you recycle them.
We have that here. Trust me, we
Yeah,
do.
so,
Nobody cares because they have it. Should tell me right here somewhere on the side of the bottle. It tells you exactly how much you get back by turning it in. But nobody ever does it. We just it's like one of those things. It's like one of those things where you just accept the price. You don't nobody realizes that there's a deposit. It's not like they say, hey, there's a 10-cent deposit on that bottle. Nobody. It's not.
See,
it's
that's
just
funny because here in Canada, well, actually in Alberta, every bottle that's sold that has a deposit actually says what the deposit is, and it says return where applicable for a refund.
I think it says that, but nobody pays attention to it anymore.
Which is sad, because everybody out here does it, and the people that don't live in the middle of nowhere where their environmental impact is zero. Because they live in the middle of nowhere, right? That's the difference.
All right.
As compared to big cities and stuff like that, you'll see the odd bottle in can and whatever else, but it's not as bad as you see in places that don't have it. And it's sad that people are like that, because if people actually follow the rules and stuff like that and actually do it, I'm honestly I get excited bringing my bottles in, because I usually get for 4 bags, I get $20. Thank you. But it's just another one of those people being stupid.
Yeah, it's just people not caring. I mean, it's one of those things of, people don't feel that the effort that goes into it is worth what they're getting back out of it. They just accept the price of it costing a little bit more, and at this point we just accept the fact that it costed more and don't even realize that it's because we're expected to get money back by trading it back in. It's just, all right, so a bottle of Pepsi is $1.25. Well, it's $1.25. Not a bottle of Pepsi is $1.15, and we're charging you $10 for the rental of that plastic bottle. It's kind of you just, all right, it's $1.25. Paid my $1.25. That's it. I've accepted that loss in income, and that's what it is.
And that sounds more like an American thing as opposed to up here. There are provinces that that don't have it, right, which is asinine. But it just boggles my mind how some people can be. But
so should get to let's see what's in the cup. Since I think we've I mean, obviously if there's more to talk about on the R.P.M. Act and whatever, excuse me, we'll definitely talk about it, but I'm not sure how much more there is to talk about it, except for the fact that I advise you that if you're in the United States, visit the SEMA website. They do have a pretty easy, straightforward little thing to where you literally just put in your information and it'll automatically send out a letter to your governing bodies. Yes. So it is really simple, easy, straightforward. It takes almost no time at all, and it sends it out. Yes, read HR 5434. Do your research. Even if you don't, you can read it. Not everybody is necessarily super government literate, but there's definitely plenty of places out there that break it down for you. If you're not very good at reading that type of stuff, there's plenty of automotive YouTubers out there that'll easily break it down for you. Just search for it. If you want to read the document yourself, you can look it up. So definitely make sure you get out there, become aware, and do what you need to do to help keep our hobby alive. So, but anyway, so what's in the cup? What do you got, Kat?
I have got some crushed cream soda.
Oh, there we go. Can't see it because you
Yeah.
don't have enough. You don't have backlighting.
Oh, apologies. Doesn't matter. I'm
You've
pretty sure
gotten
you
dark.
know
You've
it.
gotten darker as the night has gone on.
I can move the light, but
It's a shame though, because Big E finally got a light to sit in front of him. He's got a little tiny mini ring light that sits on his desk now, but he's not here today.
of course not.
But all right, what do you got, Chris?
Water.
Water? We got like 6 different types of water.
Lots and lots of water. Plain water.
Oh no, we're losing you, Chris.
Yeah.
We've been losing Chris in and out all night.
That's normal.
Yeah, depends on where
Yo-yo
you're at.
service.
There you go.
There you go.
Check out Destroyer 1320 on Friday, and I guess they're gonna break it down there. So I'm not gonna play a game tonight. I was drinking something different. It's a shame I don't think Matt MPG is in here anymore. But earlier I was drinking a Sam Adams 76. Don't think I necessarily care for it. It's a little light for my taste. I like a normally of darker lager. I like their Boston lager more. And currently I am drinking a Angry Orchard Green Apple. One of my favorite Angry Orchards.
There we go. I think I made it brighter.
Yeah, you did. All right,
Cool.
And I know that Pilot is drinking a Ice House.
Because he always is.
Always. I think if he's drinking something else, we need to make sure that he has not been body snatched by some sort of extraterrestrial being.
Oh, Mecha Nuts actually is asking what camera mic do you use?
I am using a Logitech. This is either a 922 or a 920. That is the 2 cameras that we have. Not what I'm using for my videos, but and as for a mic, I'm using a Snowball, which I am borrowing from my girlfriend. So otherwise, I'd probably just using the mic from the camera. Yeah, I would think up until like a month or 2 ago, I've always used the mic from the camera. The Logitech 9 series is normally pretty good. I haven't had any issues. We did have an issue with one of these. I think it was a 922. Had an issue with my old laptop where it would like glitch out and like it looked like an actual glitch video. But I think that was more of a software issue than a hardware issue. The mic on the camera isn't too bad. The 920, I don't think this is the 920. I can't tell. I'd have to go actually shine the. We have them written on them, which one is which. So give me a second and I'll tell you which one this one is. Okay, this is the 920. We also have a 922. The 922 has a different color grading, like color software. And I think I realized I didn't like the 922 for that reason. This is actually an older one. The 920 is an older one. I like that one better out of the 2. The mic, like I said, isn't that bad. If you want to go look at some of my older live stream videos from season 2, that's using the mic straight from the camera. It's only been like the last month or 2 that I've been using this Snowball. But as far as my videos, literally, these are what I film with. Just a cheap knockoff GoPro and some Samsung S-series cell phones. Old ones. This is a S5 and an S7. Maybe in a couple months I'll end up retiring this phone, which is an S9 Plus, and I'll end up starting to use this one for filming as well. You upgraded your setup recently, didn't you, Kat? You upgraded your mic.
Was actually, it was the webcam itself. Because I was on my phone the last time I was on here, and I bought this Adesso webcam. Hey, look, there's Cletus trying to get Streamboss again.
Yeah, I don't get that though, because what the hell?
Why is it banned like that?
Did literally everybody just spam my, or is this older ones?
I don't know. I think these are older.
Yeah, it is. It literally just spammed all of my old super chats because I don't think I got any new super chats. That's hilarious.
Well, because now it's saying the old car guy is stream boss, but I don't even think he's watching.
Oh. Yeah, because I've only gotten $5 literally, I have no idea what's going on with Streamlabs right now.
That's so weird. Huh.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. I have no idea. I think Streamlabs is having an aneurysm.
Yeah, that's funny.
Oh, I'm sorry, guys. My software is bugging out.
It's splooging the stream.
It is. But the thing is I don't think
somebody ordered gravy.
The thing is I can't turn Streamlabs off. Streamlabs is literally what is producing this live stream right now. I shut off Streamlabs, I go away, I disappear.
Yeah.
I can't turn it off. Oh, that's
because this isn't straight through YouTube. Like we're using a StreamYard. So
yeah. No. I'm not using StreamYard. StreamYard is what we're using to have this conversation, but it's not what I'm using to go live with.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually using Streamlabs to go live. So that my rendering software and the software that is making this video and sending it to YouTube is Streamlabs.
Oh, okay.
But Streamlabs isn't it doesn't have the ability for me to be able to do like the backgrounds and all of that stuff. And it also Streamlabs itself doesn't have the ability to do these multi-person chats.
Windows.
Okay.
Only stream. So like I use two different systems. I screen grab StreamYard, and basically it's like a screen capture of the web page, because like you can see if I put my mouse over top of you guys in StreamYard, it shows up in the Streamlabs stream because I'm screen capturing that particular window. Which is why I do that. Because I used to use Hangouts, which was powered by Google and YouTube. And then they decided they no longer wanted to use that. So I had to find a different streaming software that I could have multiple people up on camera at one time. And it's basically down to a few of them because, I mean, like a lot of them don't work anymore. I could use Skype, but I stopped using Skype on my old computer because it used way too many resources and it bogged my computer down. I probably wouldn't have that issue anymore, but StreamYard is so easy. It sends me a link that you guys can just join in. You know, it's more set up for what I'm doing. So I just don't ever click the go live button in StreamYard. I think it's done being stupid now, but
it looks like it.
It sucks though because do you know what? I don't know if I do this, if it will work. Otherwise, it might just set it all off again, because Robert's Garage definitely deserves to be the stream boss, unless Old Car Auto Guy actually did. I don't know.
I didn't see him actually donate. I think it's just that was the last one it saw.
Yeah.
I think that wasn't even the last one it saw. The last one it saw was Robert's Garage, so why is he on there?
Yeah, the last two I saw was William Shive and then Robert's Garage after that.
And I don't think William's in here. I'm trying to find out when the last time Old Car Auto Guy super chatted. Old Car Auto Guy sent that super chat a month ago. Because it's right here. Old Guy super chatted $6.99 Bubble Lives Matter, and that was a month ago. So it literally just reposted everybody's super chat for the last month in 5 minutes.
Well, see, that's so weird.
It's weird.
I was gonna say that's weird because mine isn't in there from like that was what 3 weeks
ago. But yours wasn't. Yours was a StreamYard. Not a StreamYard. Yours was a
PayPal.
A PayPal. It only did all of the YouTube ones.
Oh, okay.
So it literally just re-put in all of the YouTube super chats in the last month.
Megadeth, why do you keep saying "oh yeah" in the chat?
Because that was the sound. Like, okay, so you're not. I can tell that you're not watching the live stream. Because
no, I have the sound through StreamYard and I have the YouTube muted.
Right. In YouTube, when somebody donates a
oh, right. Okay, that's what he's hearing. Okay,
it's got the little girl that does the money thing, and the sound that is included in that is "oh yeah."
Oh yeah,
and then like if you donate through PayPal, you get shoot, what is that why can I not? You get Trigger coming out of the back of Snowman's big rig, and then Snowman saying "Honey Hush" from the Smokey and the Bandit movie. And if you subscribe during the live stream, then you have the LS engine that, the Lopi LS engine running that comes into the screen. So I have different sound effects and different animations that pop up depending on what happens during the live stream. I can add more, but I actually haven't changed those since season 1.
Saber, don't knock over my camera, you shit.
That is kind of funny. Miss Formy gambled. She rolled a 71 and won. That's kind of funny.
Nice.
I guarantee I won't. Number one, I won't be able to tell you see if any of those are in my account because those won't appear for a day or two. The only ones I can see immediately are the PayPals because they literally get dumped directly into my account. The other ones have to go through YouTube, which means YouTube takes their 30% off the top. So whenever you donate with a super chat, YouTube takes 30% of that right off the top. So if you donate $10, I get 7, they get 3. Whereas if you donate through PayPal, the only money that gets taken out is whatever PayPal charges you, and I'll get the full donation directly into my account. So that's the differences. The only other way, there's other ways of donating to the channel too if you want. I actually kind of like the Teespring thing because then you guys get something. So if you buy a t-shirt or whatever, you get a t-shirt. I get a cut of that, and you guys get whatever the merchandise is that you picked up. So I kind of like those ones better. I mean, I'm not going to turn away money that helps the channel because it helps buy things like this thing behind me. Because that whole EFI system, go look up full EFI system from Sniper, and you'll know exactly that it wasn't cheap. And
I I know for if I did it on my inline six, I've priced it out, and that's different because it's a 6-cylinder, not a V8. And that's the 2-barrel setup, and it was 1,600 Canadian. So I'm sure the 4-barrel setup with
Well,
the
I'm not
different
just running
distributor-
I am also running their distributor setup. So
Yeah.
the timing controller, the coil pack, the distributor, the drop-in fuel pump. So I'm not running an inline fuel pump. I'm running the drop-in one. And then also the actual throttle body itself. You know, so it wasn't cheap.
Of course,
I am making payments on that probably for the next year. So.
Yeah, that's.
Well, and yeah, there was a couple reasons. A, I got the pump because I don't have to run a return line. I don't have to have a electric pump hanging somewhere underneath of my car. The Trans Am already sits low enough. That Trans Am, I think, literally sits like 2.5 inches off the ground.
3 1/4.
Something like, yeah.
Uh,
So that car already sits low enough down on the ground. I don't need it to sit any lower. I mean, I don't need anything lower hanging down underneath it, especially something that has to do with fuel. And I can run all of this. I can use all of the stock lines, just replace the rubber lines with a high pressure line. And so that saves me a little bit of money there. But the drop-in pump is not necessarily cheap either. But and then what's the point of having the EFI with the self-learning tuning if it can't control the timing? So I went with the Dizzy because then at least it can control the timing, so it can not only make sure that the air fuel mixture is correct, but it can also make sure that the timing's correct.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get the most possible performance gain out of it by replacing all of that stuff.
Oh yeah, because I know with if I were to do it on my inline six, you can actually get away with self-learning without the HyperSpark distributor.
Oh, yeah, you can. I don't need to have it. It just means that it'll literally be leaving the timing at a set point.
Yeah, which I'm okay with that for like my setup, and that's why it's a lot cheaper for me. Also, the 2-barrel setup is much cheaper than the 4-barrel setup.
Yeah. Well, I'm running the 4-barrel setup, but I'm also running the Quadrajet lookalike. So I'm not running the standard Sniper EFI. I'm running the one that is because the standard Sniper EFI is what they call square bore, which means that all 4 of the ports are all equal size. Unlike the one that I'm running here, because it's a GM vehicle. GM vehicles run better on what they call a spread bore. As you can see, the first ports are smaller than the secondaries. The secondaries are a lot bigger. So this is a Carter Quadrajet Rochester setup. Whereas the Hollies, the main Hollies and things like that, they run a square bore, which means these ports here are the same size as these ports up here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, on my setup,
well, you have a 2-barrel.
I have to run a square bore. I can't do that.
Well, that's yours is also a Ford. Ford runs on a square bore. GM vehicles run on what they call a spread bore.
For fuel mileage purposes.
Mainly, but it also is better for acceleration too, because they don't have that big stumble as soon as you get on the throttle.
Oh yeah, it's like turbo lag except for it's not.
Yeah, exactly. GM vehicles don't normally have that because of the smaller primaries. So yeah, I mean, I ran this one versus the other ones. Yeah, and then
when them secondaries kick in.
Oh yeah, it's like getting
sing,
punched.
Baby, sing.
Yeah, so it's like getting punched in the gut, especially with the engine that I'm running in this car. because it's a 1976 Pontiac 400 versus the 79 that, or actually 78, because the 79s all ran a 78 400. But it's also got a cam in it. It's been bored out, and the heads have been shaved down. So it's not stock. So there was no point in running, I'd rather the computer be able to control all aspects of it to make sure that it's running where it needs to be. That was also part of my decision on getting away from the carb, was because I could put the stock carb back on it. I could spend the $600 to get the stock carb rebuilt, but the engine's not stock. So at that point, I would
You'd
then
have to have it rejetted.
yes, I would have to have the stock carb then sent out to get tuned for my setup, which would cost even more. And then
You could probably do that in your initial rebuild, wouldn't you?
What?
If you had went that route, you could have given them your engine specs when you sent the carb in, and they
it would have
could have
cost
rebuilt
me
it
because I would have to. I couldn't send it to just any
and
place
rejetted it.
I couldn't,
Right.
At that point, I couldn't send it to just anybody that rebuilds carbs. I had to make sure that they had a flow bench.
Yeah, but they could have jetted it and set your pilots and everything for your engine specifications that you have now, as opposed to do a stock rebuild and then have to go in again.
Yeah, but and that's if my carburetor hadn't already been rebuilt once. I have no idea. If
Right.
that carburetor was already rebuilt once, it can't be rebuilt again because you can only bore it out and replace the stuff so many times.
Yeah. And see, and that's the unique situation that I have with what I'm going to be doing, because, yeah, I'm going to be running like a new cam and everything, but I'm running a stock 2-barrel Autolite, because honestly, if I did play around with the carb too much, it's just going to run like crap in that thing, just due to the fact it's an inline 6.
No, it
like,
wouldn't if the carb was tuned. You just
slapping
a different carburetor on it that's not tuned for that vehicle. Yes, it would run like shit.
I don't know, and I mean, it's not hard to tune a carburetor. It's not before, but
it depends on what it needs. If it needs more than, what the screws adjusting it can do, because then it goes into adjusting, your needle sizes, the shape of your linkages
size.
The shape of your linkages can even have an impact. I think that's what they do with the square bores to overcome the to overcome what it does when all of them open at once, and it just tends it to want it to bog, especially for manual. I think manual cars have more of a problem with that than the automatics, getting them off the line with the big primaries.
Oh, well, yeah, because you don't have as much of a kickdown. So, yeah, like, I mean, before my car started to run like absolute crap, like my 81, I was tuning the carb. Like, I didn't take the carb apart because I knew it needed a rebuild, but I actually had it running pretty well for a while. But then it got to a point of where it's just the carb needs to rebuild so bad that it doesn't matter what it is. At that point,
you're tuning the car to make up for the problem with the carburetor.
And
so then you're just chasing your tail, because once you're not actually fixing it, you're band-aiding it, and the problem, you're not fixing the problem itself. The problem itself is the carb itself. Well, then anything that you do to the rest of the car, you're just going to end up masking the problem.
Throwing rocks in the lake, hoping one will float.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, I know. It's just, why rebuild an Autolite 1100 single barrel carburetor though? No point.
That's the same reason why my Quadrajet is still sitting downstairs in the box, and I bought an EFI.
Yeah.
It's because it wasn't worth rebuilding the stock Quadrajet for the amount of performance I could get off the EFI and the better fuel mileage. And the fact that, now I have more control over how the car is running. Because, again, even with a carburetor, it's set for 1 RPM and 1 instance to run the best at that particular point. Every other place it runs, it's not going to be running as efficiently as it does that specific individual point in time. Because basically, you set it and you forget it. It doesn't adjust itself. It can't adjust for altitude. It can't adjust for barometric pressure. It cannot adjust for, whether the car is running lean or fat. It can't adjust the timing. It's set where it is, and that's where it is. Whereas the EFI can literally has unlimited adjustability on the fly.
Oh, of course. And believe me, like if I had the money, I would go to a sniper setup or something like that. But I just don't. And so like the carburetor I have is a brand new reman carb. It was never even on a car. Actually, no, that's a lie. I think it was on a Bronco 2 for about 2 weeks. That's what he told me. Then he swapped it to a Bronco. That's what it was. And I've cleaned it out, and it looks freaking gorgeous.
Yeah, but I mean, it could be something stupid like your needles might have been screwed in too tight and end up with a ridge on them. It could be. You have no idea what happened to that carb before you got it. If they screw the needles all the way in to adjust it and they screwed them in too tight, well, then they're not going to be, if they have a ridge on the bottom of the needle, obviously that's going to mess up your air fuel mixture. If gas sat in the float bowl too long and it messed up the needle for the float bowl, that could get sticky. And then it's not going to dump enough fuel in it when it needs to, or it's going to there's all kinds of things that can go wrong, especially if a carburetor sits too long.
Oh yeah, and I know, trust me. I'm not too worried about it right at this minute. Like, the thing is, if I come across those things, then it'll just have to be an entire tear down of it, clean everything, and see if I spot anything and replace what needs to be replaced. But I'm not terribly worried about it because I haven't had many issues with swapping carburetors before, especially ones that are like pretty much brand new. They've just been sitting for a little bit. I haven't had those issues before. Compared to, there are other people that have, yes, but like as soon as I got that carburetor, the first thing I did was spray a bunch of carb clean through it just to see what came out.
Right.
And there was a tiny bit of fuel, but like most minuscule amount. So I wasn't that concerned, and it didn't look that bad either. It looked to be, like older fuel, but like maybe 3 or 4 months, not years. So.
I do believe Mecca said he likes the 1906. I do believe that was what I was running on my Nova. If that's the 650 electric choke Edelbrock, that's what I was running on my Nova. It's too small for the Trans Am. Not enough CFMs. It is what's on the Trans Am right now is that carburetor off of my Nova. Just to get the car running, because we weren't even able to get it running at all with the stock carb. It would not even fire at all. But we were trying to get it running, so we threw that carburetor on it. It fires right up, but as soon as you try to go anywhere and give it any actual gas, it stumbles and falls on its face. Part of the reason why we went the route we went. But if it wasn't for a firm, I wouldn't have the money for this either. I went through them for the small loan to be able to get the parts that I did, which allowed me to make payments on it. Yeah, you need like a 730. Most of them run an 800 CFM carb for the Pontiacs, especially when you're running the fact that I have a bigger cam and a bigger bore size than stock. So I think Chris can agree with that. 800 CFM is good for the big Pontiacs.
Yeah. They're thirsty.
Yeah, they are. They beat a thirsty boy.
They like to drink when you're When you're making them go, whoa.
Well, I mean, the thing is even with the Edelbrock in it, when you bump the throttle on that Trans Am, it will squat the back end and lift the front end up without the car even being in drive. That's in neutral. In neutral, it was causing that car to literally, the engine wanted to pull out of the frame rails. So, I think my mom actually had I think it's the driver's side. She had it chained to the frame. She had a chain that ran from the engine down to the frame in her 79 that she had when I was a kid.
Oh.
So yeah, they are torquey boys.
Yeah, he's only running a 355 at 9.5 to 1.
The engine that is in my Nova is a 350 with 305 heads. It's running 11.5 to 1 compression.
That's because you have 305 headlights.
Yeah, small CFM heads. Small brain not working.
Small compression bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know all that. Like, it's like there's this one guy actually I was talking to for a while. He had a '66 Mustang coupe, and it had the inline six in it. He put 140 a head off of 144, and he poured it and polished it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing was making 14.5 to 1 compression.
Yeah, it makes it hard to run pump gas in those, but.
Oh yeah, he said he could only run.
He can only run race fuel at 14.5 to 1.
Yeah, I think he was saying 110 octane, something like that he was running. So,
yeah, because 93 octane is pushing what I can put in the Nova.
Yeah. Because, well, I'm sure it pings. So.
Well, you can see those dates, can't you? Pick up your date. First stop is the airport. Are we going on an airplane ride? No, we got to get gas in the car.
But it was kind of bad. I mean, like at one point, I really had
the smell.
I had to really lay back the timing on the car so I could run 89. I had to really roll back the timing on the car to run 89 because that was when gas was up above $4 a gallon, and that car was my daily driver at that time. So it was pretty sketchy because I had to make sure that I didn't blow it up. So I just made it so it didn't have as much power. Yeah, by the way, I'm running flat top pistons in the Nova motor with the valve reliefs in them. So it's flat top pistons plus the smaller CC heads. Now I'm lucky the intake size of the valves is the same as they were for the 350 heads. So they both are running a 202 intake. The exhaust port is a lot smaller on the 305 heads than the 350 heads, but it just means that it wouldn't scream out the RPMs. It made it a very torquey bottom end engine though. But the Trans Am, it's running 30 over bore, 30,000 shaved off the heads, which brings it to the same CCs as the SE Pontiac 400 heads. Did you know that, Chris?
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, you shave 30 thousandths off of the 110 cc heads, and it brings you right at the 93 cc's that the SE engines were running. So, yeah, the 6X heads, it has the same CCs as the 6X heads. Even though I don't have
in mine.
Huh?
That won't work in mine.
Why?
Somebody lost the poncho gutless piece of boat anchor that was under the hood.
Oh, that's right. You got the Buick 455 under the hood of yours, don't you?
Uh-huh.
Well, you don't really need that then, now do you?
Which is it's not just an ordinary Buick. It's a 70 Buick.
So yeah, you're making more power anyway than a stock 400.
Yeah.
So
with shaft mounted rockers straight from factory, near as we could figure by running the numbers.
Oh yeah, like those. The Buick 455. Now, granted, this was in the stage 4 or stage 3 GSX. Was one of the few cars that when a Hemi Cuda was tuned correctly, it could keep up with it.
Yeah.
One of the very few, which is surprising actually, because everybody else, typically when they were beating the Hemi cars was because the Hemis weren't set up right.
Right.
Even stock back in the day, because they had the triple carburetor set up, and nobody can get those carburetors set up properly at all. Wasn't a great setup on those Hemis for those carburetors, but those 485s though from the Buick, they're freaking insane motors.
Mm-hmm. I had a 500 cubic inch Cadillac motor. Those are a beast. You can easily get 800 horsepower and over 1,000 foot-pounds of torque out of those running on pump gas.
Yeah. Oh, it's brutal. Like, and it's just like with the 400 Chrysler motor. Those.
Rory's saying that the Hemi never came with a 6-pack. I'm pretty sure they did.
Oh no, sorry. It wasn't.
The 440s had a 6-pack.
It was 2 carburetors. It was 2 carburetors.
The 440s had a 6-pack.
Yes, sorry, I was getting the 2 confused. But still, the Carter setup, like the Carter carbs on those Hemis were junk. They just were. And there was a lot of them that they wouldn't run right because of those damn carburetors. The people that took those off and put on like a Holly or something like that, or an Edelbrock, ran way better.
Yeah. I want to welcome Revenge of the Apocalypse. It's my friend. He's local. He's like literally only a couple towns over from me. Welcome you to the chat. The North Star? North Star's not necessarily a bad engine. It's just people don't like it because the starter is down inside the valley pan.
Oh, no. That's not the reason why people hate those. People hate those because when the head gasket goes, it costs about $3,000 to replace it because you have to remove the engine.
Well,
and head gaskets went on those constantly.
Yeah.
That was their problem.
I don't ever really care about how much something engine work costs because I just do it myself, and it doesn't cost me $3,000 to do it if I have to do it.
Oh yeah, but like
I mean that's like okay, so you had my Dodge Ram. They charge almost $3,000 to do the heater core in that truck. $3,000 to do the heater core in that truck. It cost me $40 to do.
Oh yeah, and obviously like that makes sense. If you can do it yourself, but with the North Star though, it's just a lot of the time though, like a lot of these people that don't have the know-how and like with those okay, he actually says that's an 05. The 05 did have the updated head studs, so they don't typically blow their head gaskets as often. They still can, but nowhere near as much. Those were fixed by then.
I don't know. If I think I had a Caddy, I think I'd want a CTSV with an LSA in it.
Yeah, which that's
just because I want.
It's not really a Cadillac at that point.
No, it's a Corvette with a Caddy body on it.
Exactly. Like, and it's like, and the one thing is, and I wish, because I don't know, do you remember the Cadillac Xlr?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Well, the Xlr was literally a Corvette, but with a Cadillac body and a hardtop convertible with a North Star.
Oh, yeah.
And the problem was with those is because it had a North Star in it, they blew head gaskets just like the
those are the
regular
ones
ones
with the electric, the magnetic ride suspension in them, isn't it?
I believe so, yeah. Yeah, and they're really cool cars. They retain their values for a while, actually.
Mm-hmm.
But
Caddies normally do, though.
Not a CS.
Well, that's a.
And not a first gen
you are
Escalade
always
either.
getting nailed with the freaking hiding of the chats there, Mecca.
That's so weird.
No, he cursed. That's why I hit it. That's why I have so many moderators. So that way they can tell the difference between somebody adding to the conversation versus somebody being just a troll. So it'll hide it, because the problem is if it doesn't hide it first, it shows up on the screen. So, and so if it hides it, it won't show up on the screen first. In fact, I didn't think it. Yep, it didn't show up on the screen at all, even though I allowed it later.
Okay, now that's weird. Wait, an 05 Cadillac hearse with 130,000 miles on it? Where the hell were these dead people? Like, holy crap. That's a lot of miles on a hearse.
I'm a big fan of hearses. I love the way they look. Especially the old school ones, like from the 60s. Or the old ambulances.
Yeah, they were cool.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that I was alive to actually see those
bodies. Alan, you need to stop by our live stream on Sunday nights more often. Miss having you up here. He's one of my old hosts. He used to come up here. Not sure what happened. I think just lifestyle change probably. 16-hour drive to pick. That's a haul. Well, it's not a haul as far as Chris is concerned. 16 hours is nothing for you, is it, Chris?
It's another day in the life, sounds like.
Right? Well, I drove.
That's why I laugh. My sister will bitch all the time because she's got to take her boy to Pittsburgh for specialized training. It's like, oh my god, it's an hour and a quarter. And I was like,
geez, that's an
hour and a quarter.
I have to drive an hour into work every day.
Cleveland, I'm like, I said, what the hell are you sneezing at? Hell, that's not even getting our feet wet. Yeah, the coffee's just beginning to kick in at that point.
Yeah, that's an hour. I drive an hour every day into work.
I was going to say, for me, where I live, to do anything that's fun, excluding drinking or shooting guns, you have to drive an hour.
Yeah, that's a bad part about living out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, it's really.
She's in God's country.
We do not speak of that debacle. Chris, they're bringing up our friend from a couple years ago. Yeah, we have moved on from such things. And then we got life is always be at wait.
7,000 miles in 16 months.
Where do I see that? 7,000 miles in 16 months.
Let's see.
Can't say that
put it in perspective.
I've gotten way more than that. We push like 12,000 miles in a year on our Kias.
We got in this truck last January after Christmas.
Yeah.
And 115,000 and change on it. It's sitting at 286, 283 right now.
Yeah, no, I can work from home sometimes, but my work doesn't like us doing it that much. They'd rather us be in the group homes. So, and the group home that I manage is an hour north of me. So if I have to do anything up at the house, I have to travel an hour to get there. Which kind of sucks, though, because if there's ever an emergency, I'm an hour away.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's if I'm not doing something in any direction other than where work is. So, like, if I'm doing anything else, then I'm even further away. Thank you, Robert.
Ooh, did I hear somebody say something about a Mustang? You piqued my interest.
Where was Mustang? Oh, yeah, Revenge of the Apocalypse has a Mustang. He has a V6 that actually has a pretty nice sound to it.
Well, my V6 sounds bitchin' too. So,
well, his is a newer one.
Oh yeah.
Oh well,
Go
actually,
check out his channel.
well,
He's got it all over the place. He's got the shark teeth in the front grill and everything.
I'll have to check that out.
He does a lot of.
There's your LSA, Sean.
He says he has an LSA.
Uh-huh.
I don't see him, he wants to donate an LSA my way. Well, then, I might have to get the truck up and running a little faster than what it is. Still waiting on parts for that, by the way. They're on back order with Dodge itself.
And to all these shows, if you were backed up that much, you'd have been passing gas already.
Yeah. Though, if he's got an LSA engine, why is he not sticking it in his Camaro? Curious. He's got a really nice looking 3rd gen Camaro. TZ Nation. Yeah, that is the dream engine I want to put in a Nova as an LSA. Second choice is a 6-liter plus LS engine. I won't go
Oh, he has one of them. But I was just taking a look at his channel. That's one of the really modern ones.
Yeah, the last gens.
Yep, current gen.
He had a Camaro. And unfortunately, somebody set fire to his garage and it burnt to the ground.
Oh.
He literally watched his car that he just spent God knows how long trying to get. So, you know what I mean? He's not made of money, so it took him to get the down payment and all that stuff going, and he finally got it. And he only had it like a couple months, and he watched it burn to the ground. Go to his channel about, I want to say 3 or 4 years ago, and you'll see the footage from that. It's heartbreaking. It was that green color that they had for the Camaros.
Okay.
Gorgeous car. An LS swapped Volvo wagon would be the freaking shit.
See, the thing is, like, I understand why people use LSs. They're cheap and they're a really good engine. I'm just not a big fan of, like, the common swaps, right? That way. And that's one of the reasons why I run that I'm keeping with the inline 6 and my Mustang. Like, yeah, my 86 is getting a 302, but that's just because it's costing $300 and that's why it's going in there. It's the only reason why.
Yeah, and TZ, don't tease me with an LSA if you weren't ever going to give it to me and just drop it in your car anyway. That's just mean. But no, most likely what will end up happening is I find in a 6.0 iron block LS out of like a delivery van or something, and end up putting that in the Nova because that's going to be way more affordable. Because you could pick up an old delivery truck with a 6.0 for a couple $100, and then you pull all you need for the swap, so the harness and the engine and all that. And you sell the rest of the truck. You can almost make your money back selling the truck back for scrap.
What, you're not gonna rent the U-Haul truck for a day and try and find one with
I'd have to find something to throw back in the U-Haul truck.
That's where you get a junkyard. What is the small one? The 4.8.
Yeah, the 3.8 I think is actually smaller.
Well, yeah, but it's not on a V8.
Huh?
They would notice as soon as they pop the hood and it has 2 less cylinders on it.
It literally depends on whether or not they're that mechanically inclined.
Yeah, their mechanic is good.
I'll just make a paper mache mold of the cylinder heads and just extend it out a little further and then just paint it freaking metallic colored. They'll never notice the difference.
Well, yeah, somehow, and honestly, I know the fact that the 3.8 looks a hell of a lot different than an LS does.
Engine covers, man. You just put an LS engine cover over top of it. You can't see the engine anyway.
You'd have to put like a Corvette engine cover on top of it. That's really the only one that covered up the most.
I'm just being silly. Alan, he asked what the updates are on the car. Well, the Trans Am is getting EFI. In fact, I have the distributor, which I haven't even pulled it out of the box yet. Well, I pulled it out of the box myself, but I haven't pulled it out in the live stream yet. So I just got the Dizzy for the Trans Am, which is right here. Nothing real special. I mean, it doesn't look anything special, but computer-controlled Dizzy. Put this back in the phone in a minute.
So how did that adventure with a neighbor go to recover it?
Oh, it was. Besides, I went up last night, and obviously I could tell that nobody was awake. So I went up today, and it actually turns out it's the same person that they ended up delivering Jess's CPU to when she built her computer. Which I don't understand. How do you mix up 271 3rd Street and 271 4th Street? But it took me almost an hour on the phone with the UPS distribution for them to talk to the driver to track down what actual house they left it at.
Well, see, my only thing is, they may have gone off at just strictly GPS and it sent them a block over.
It doesn't.
As opposed to...
No. I mean, even GPS, this area that I'm at right now is pretty good at making, the difference between 3rd Street and 4th Street. Because even the dude that was at the distribution center looked it up and he says, yeah, your house on GPS looks nothing like the house that he described dropping it off to. So he was able to find my house. If you'd read the
order, your phone number's probably in it somewhere. You could have called if you were lost.
Something. But I hate the fact that they don't make you sign for packages anymore. Like, it's that simple. Just make me sign for the package. If it,
drop it on the porch, take a picture, done.
Well, they don't even take a picture of it. Like, I mean, that would have been freaking awesome. They take a picture of it being on the porch, and you can prove, as the delivery driver, hey, I dropped it off here. But they don't even do that. They just sign that they left it there. Well, what's stopping them from signing that they left it there and taking it with them?
Nothing.
If it wasn't for my Ring camera, I wouldn't have been able to prove anything. But anyway, I've got most of the parts I need to EFI swap the TA, which is really the only thing that thing needs, except for maybe it's probably going to need some suspension upgrades now. I know that the rear sway bar I don't even have on the car right now because I keep breaking those stupid end links. They just snap. And I'm not quite sure why they're snapping, but probably going to go with an aftermarket setup for those. But, as far as the rest of the car, it's the only thing that's keeping it from running. The truck is all back together. The transmission works just fine. I have the steel braided lines over there to replace the coolant lines. I am waiting for the factory vacuum lines for the 4-wheel drive setup to come to be in stock to be delivered, so I can get that truck back on the road. The Nova is still sitting in the field. It is waiting for me to have a guaranteed place for me to be able to actually break it all the way down, because unfortunately where I'm at now, I can't really leave things in the garage. So once that thing comes apart, obviously it won't have anything. It'll be on a jig for a little while, and so I won't be able to roll it out of the garage, and that means it'll be tying up that single car garage, and it's not my garage to tie up. At least everything else I had, I could roll it out when I wasn't using the garage. It used to be mandatory to sign until COVID.
Yeah.
COVID's the reason why it's not mandatory to sign because of social distancing.
Yeah, like that's the one thing I like about actually. I physically know the FedEx driver that delivers here, and he actually, if my cars are not out front and my dad's car is not in the driveway, he doesn't deliver it. He'll actually deliver it to one of the businesses here in town, and they just call me to pick it up. Right. And which is so much better because yeah, shit can get stolen. Like, don't get me wrong, it's hard for somebody to come in here and actually steal something because, I mean, it is a trailer park, but you actually have to know to look.
Right. Well, which is different. We have the Ring door cameras and all that stuff. So, like, when he said that, he delivered it, it's like I went back and looked at it. It's like it literally catches every car that rolls down my street. So it's like I could tell that there wasn't even a UPS driver on my street, let alone dropped off a package, because it would have caught him on camera.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I was just saying, you got a Wrangler YJ tranny rebuilt for only $840. That's pretty cheap. Like if he wasn't doing it himself, is what I mean. That's
jeez, it would have cost me almost over $2,000 to have the transmission rebuilt in my truck.
Well, yeah, actually, if I wanted to, like, if my C4 went in my Mustang and I wanted to actually get that rebuilt, it would cost, I think, $1,700 Canadian, which is ridiculous for a 3-speed tranny.
He's doing a turbo kit on his 86 Fox body.
Ooh. I didn't see that.
Might want to go check out his channel.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Yeah, 306.
Nick sold his Wrangler to Nick is Guitarmageddon ZL1 is the Nick that he's talking about. Nick has right now he has a 2017 ZL1 that's got a massive single turbo on it. You should check out Nick's channel, the Guitarmageddon ZL1 cat. That car is insane. He doesn't post super often, but that car is definitely wicked.
I'll have to check these out. Let me open up the chat. There we go.
Oh, so it was a home built trans. Okay. Yeah, I could say it costs about that to rebuild because my 46 RE would have cost me around that much to just in parts if I would have replaced everything the first time. Which, by the way, when it comes to automatic transmissions, don't try to cut money by not buying everything. Just replace everything. Because that's what bit me with my truck, is me trying to save money by not buying some of the more expensive parts. And yeah, it ended up costing me. I ended up having to take it apart and replace not only the parts that I just put in it, but having to buy those parts again anyway.
Yeah, oh, for sure. And I've learned that just with building my car, to be honest.
What vehicle worth owning isn't a money pit? Damn right.
Accurate. I bought my 81 Mustang for $500. I'm well over $3,000 into it and still going.
Nick, Revenge of the Apocalypse said, he says he likes that Nick actually keeps his cars. Mike's got me lost with a new flavor every other day. But the thing is it's different. The way that they treat YouTube is different. Nick treats YouTube as a documentation of what he's doing, whereas for Mike, YouTube is a business. So just like anything else, you know, Mike switches cars when the views start dropping. He has to constantly keep something fresh to keep those views in, which is why he has to switch cars so often. Not to mention, Mike switches cars so often because he doesn't actually own them for his own personal use. Those cars that he switches are business assets. So there's a different reason behind having them. as soon as they stop making money, well, then they're not worth having, and he switches. Because if they're not making money, then they're costing him money, and that's a bad business practice. Whereas like somebody like me, I have the TA and the Nova. I don't own them because they make me money. Otherwise they'd be gone already. So there's a difference in the way that Nick does YouTube and the reason Nick is on YouTube versus the reason that Mike is on YouTube. For Mike, it's a business. It's his livelihood. For Nick, it's a hobby. So there is a difference.
Ooh, I'm getting fans in the comments.
Nick is if you watch Mike, he is attached to some of his vehicles, just not the ones that he gets rid of all the time. Mike was really attached to his square body, his Chevy truck. He just got tired of it sitting around and not being used and ended up giving it to his brother-in-law. I guarantee you he's attached to that Corvette, because otherwise, if that Corvette was there because of his channel, it would be on his channel more often. That Corvette's almost never on his channel because that car isn't a channel car. That car is a personal car. So, like that split window Corvette, that's a personal car. So that's why that stuff doesn't show up on the channel. Yes, R.P.M. save the hot rods, definitely. And definitely F bodies. Let's see. Is he really? I have no idea. You're gonna have to give me more information on that, TZ. Justin's talking about his Mustang. He says he has an 89 and an 86. His 86 has a 70, is an 87 93 front end.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I was reading that, and yeah, which because I was just asking him, and in the comments, just like, why'd you aero swap it? Because I am a big fan of the 4i Mustangs, which is the 4 individual headlights, as opposed to the aero, personally. But
yeah, I'm not a fan of the Fox bodies. Just a personal opinion, not an actual performance opinion. Not a fan of the way they look. But I mean, it's not that I don't like Mustangs. I like the 73s, which a lot of people don't like. The 71 to 73s. Because
well, actually, the 71 to 73s right now are some of the most popular.
They were always, when I was growing up, they were considered the ugly Mustangs.
Well, no, that was the Mustang 2.
The Mustang 2 is different. That's totally different. That's like saying that's like the 5th generation Nova versus the 4th generation Nova. Nobody even considers the 5th generation Nova as a Nova at all, just like nobody really considers the Mustang 2 a Mustang.
Yeah, although that opinion is turning around.
Well, yeah, it's because of different generations. The generation coming up now are ones that their parents had those cars when they were kids. See, there's a difference. Like the 4th generation Novas are now becoming popular because the kids are now getting that are in the market where they're now restoring cars. That was their parents' car growing up. Because it's the way that works. Just like in another 5 or 10 years, the 80s cars will become popular, which makes, I have no idea why anybody would consider the 80s cars popular, but
it is a.
But I do see Mr. John has an 80. He said like he had a 3rd gen F body. Where did I see that at?
I thought, yeah, you have to scroll up a little ways for that one, but yeah.
Oh, wow.
And actually,
the chat moved fast.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's people talking constantly. It's kind of nice to see that.
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, I've got the chat rate right now is at 8. I didn't know they made a T-top in the Fox bodies.
Oh yeah. the Fox bodies you can get with a T-top from 1980 to 1986 or 87. I think it was 86.
Yeah.
And they are, if you find a T-top manual V8, it's a unicorn and it's worth a ton of money.
All right. Honestly, it's funny because the Iron Duke Camaros from the third gens are considered rare at this point and worth a shit ton of money, which you would think a 4-cylinder Mustang wouldn't be worth anything, but the 4-cylinder manual transmission 80s Camaros are pretty rare today.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, actually, the rarest of all the Fox bodies is actually a 79 with the V8, or not with the V8, the 2.8 V6 and a stick, because they only made them for about 3 months.
Wow.
And then they switched over to the inline six. They're a unicorn. I've seen one. And I've been looking hard for one because I want one.
The stupid fast truck says a Chevy Citation will never be popular. A Chevy Citation with a big block in it definitely would be. They did that.
Yeah.
They did that way back when. They did a Chevy Citation with a Cadillac, 500 cubic inch Cadillac engine in it. The engine literally sat in the passenger seat. It had no drive shaft. The engine and transmission directly bolted to the rear end.
Nice.
Because it's as long as it is.
Yeah. And
the IROC Z has always been popular. I hate to tell you that.
It has been. And actually, with Justin mentioning he just subscribed to me, which I appreciate that. Thank you. And the two Mustangs that I own, I own an 81 notchback with the inline six in it, automatic car that has hardly any rust on it. It's amazing, actually, how rust-free that car is. And I have an 86 convertible with 3.8 at the moment.
Alan, I'm only a message away. He said about meeting up sometime. I think any car parts are going to end up being on the rise, especially with this EPA BS going on.
Yes, I have an inline six in my 81. The inline six was available in the Fox bodies from 79.5 to 1982. In 83, it was replaced with a 3.8 V6. Thank you, and indeed it is. Okay, if you're going to get up, go that way. Thank you, Cat.
Bye, Cat. Not you, Cat. The other Cat.
And the other one leaves. Okay, cool.
I don't know where mine are at. Normally they're at my feet, but he's not at my feet right now. I need to top off my drink.
I can cool off of it without the cats making me.
Oh, there it is.
And yeah, my 81 is a unicorn because of the options it has. Because it's an inline six with the automatic, which was an option back then. And it's got the high back vinyl seats without the headrests in them, and is the pewter gray interior, which was a 1 year only color. Right now, they're just daily drivers, but I will be racing them a little bit, and I'll be going to shows and stuff like that with them, and, just having fun with the cars as best I can.
Yeah, it's kind of like mine. Mine just, I would be driving them more often if they were on the road. I own my cars to drive them. I don't like them sitting, but right now they're broken, so.
Well, yeah, my convertible is sitting because I'm pretty sure one of the cylinders got washed out with gas, and there's a bunch of gas in the oil, and it has low oil pressure, and it's on its way out.
Yeah.
So.
And the reason mine has been sitting as long as they are is because the fact that time and money.
Yeah, of course.
When you pay child support, there's not a lot of time or there's not a lot of money that you can throw towards BS stuff. And actually, right now, we're looking at trying to buy a home so that way, we can do the things that we want to do and not have to be with the restrictions of renting. So hopefully we end up a place where I can actually work on my cars at home. And then obviously there will be a lot more progress worked on them because I can tinker on them for 5 or 10 minutes instead of, and not have to worry too much about it. Unlike if I have to travel a half hour to where they're at, you don't travel a half hour to tinker on them for freaking 10 or 15 minutes and then drive back home.
Yeah, understandable. Like, because actually where I am with the cars, due to I live in a trailer park and we have 3 vehicles out front of our house in a small little trailer. So to work on my cars, I actually have to shimmy vehicles around just so I can work on the car or change the oil.
Right.
It's really annoying, actually.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But I can work on my cars all I want. Nobody complains, no matter how much noise they make. It's convenient. People just shut their windows when they realize I have the power tools up. Which, I mean, the only power tool is going to be the impact or my saw.
Sweet.
Well, see, I mean, there is a lot of risk in racing a car, obviously. But, and it comes with that sort of risk with it, especially when you're driving at or running on the track or even if you're racing on the street.
Anytime you're pushing yourself, a car, or parts to a limit, there's always a chance for something to go wrong.
Exactly. And, like, the thing is, that's what I really like about my cars in their stock form, because they're gutless. But you get them on dirt, you'll have the most fun in the world.
Well, and the thing is when they're stock, you run bracket racing.
Yeah, you can. Oh, yeah.
You don't need to run fast to be good at bracket racing. You just need to be consistent. You could have the slowest car in the field, and as long as it's consistent, it runs the same times all the time. You can be, you can win a bracket race just because you're consistent.
Oh yeah, like my cars, because I have a little app. I don't know how 100% accurate it is, but it seems pretty close. I did a quarter-mile run with both of my cars. My convertible was 20 seconds flat in the quarter mile, and my notch was 19.2 seconds.
Yeah.
So they're slow as all hell, but they're fun.
I have no idea what my cars would run. I mean, I know the TA is not. I mean, the TA is not fast by today's standards, but it does throw you in the back of the seat. The Nova is quick off the line, but again, after like 70 or 80 miles an hour, it obviously doesn't have the pull that it does down low. But then again, they're not modern cars. They're older cars that, all right, see you later. Today's daylight savings times too, so you got to remember that we're going to lose an hour.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like I feel it right now, and it's only 9 o'clock, and just like,
around 2 o'clock in the morning, it goes from 2 to 3 in a matter of a second.
Yeah. Right, I wasn't actually awake for that,
but your body's still going to feel that. I mean, if you go to bed at midnight and you wake up at 8, you're not actually getting 8 hours of sleep. You're getting 7 hours of sleep.
Oh yeah, and like the thing is though, typically it doesn't affect me very much because I don't work, right?
Oh yeah.
So when I'm here at home, but this time it did because I woke up at 8:30 this morning when I usually wake up around 9:30. So yeah, I was quite tired, but that's fine. And also like,
I gotta get up. I get up at 8:30 tomorrow morning. Take my kid to his babysitter.
That's fun.
But I'm used to getting like 4 or 5 hours of sleep. That's kind of my normal.
Well, fair enough. Yeah, because actually today I was working on replacing the weather stripping in my 81, which went pretty decently, although I only did the trunk and the the door surround on the driver's side so far.
I have
I
the complete.
Feel like shimmying around.
Yeah, I have the complete weather stripping kit for my TA that's been sitting in a box for 5 years. There's been no point in putting it on.
Yeah, I mean, if it's just gonna sit, there's no.
Yeah, there was no point in putting it on. I have to fix the complete trunk, where the weather stripping goes into the trunk, because somebody hacked it all up. It's all bent out of shape. None of it is straight. So I have to go in there with a hammer and a dolly and fix that whole trunk line where the weather strip gets pushed into it. Because it's all messed up.
Yeah, actually, I had to do a little bit of that with mine. It wasn't too messed up to where it wouldn't go on. I just wanted it straighter.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It'll go in. I just want it flat and straight, so that way I guarantee that it's going to seal.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like I wasn't using a hammer. I was using vice grips.
Yeah.
Which works. And
see you later, Roy.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we're going to run tonight anyway, because of the fact of it being daylight savings time tonight, and yeah. Already going to lose that hour. Can't wait till car season. It's already car season as soon as, it's already motorcycle season up here. The first warm day we had, they had bikes out on the road, which I think is pretty silly because they still have all that cinder and everything on the road from, the snowstorms. You slide anywhere, you get anywhere out of the groove of the road, and you're going to end up in that stuff, and you're going to dump a bike.
Yeah, I was seeing that not quite as done here, although mind you, there's a guy local that I see every once in a blue moon. He rides his bike and no matter what, but it is a trike, so he's got that on his side.
Yeah, this trike is a little more stable than a two-wheel.
But still, it's like, there was one day, and I kind of had to laugh. It was minus 20 Celsius, which actually, what is that in Fahrenheit? I need to look that up. In the middle of a snowstorm, and this guy's riding his bike through town. And I was just, I nearly crashed the car because I was laughing so hard.
Yeah.
He was just like, what the hell are you doing,
Regardless of the fact of, snow and two tires don't work very well together. Yes, Kat look up Katrina's garage. Literally what's pasted up here on the screen under her name. Just look that up and you'll find her.
Wait, I'm the only one.
But yeah, why? I mean, and then and if you're going anywhere near the speed limit, the freaking wind chill factor when it's freaking already 30 degrees out and you're going 40 to 60 miles an hour, the wind chill at 40 to 60 miles an hour has got to be freaking, surprised you have fingers, toes, nose, or anything left.
Yeah, well, okay, I just did the conversion. That is minus 4 Fahrenheit for you Americans that he was riding at.
Oh, screw that.
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing, dude? Like, mind you, that's not quite as funny as there's this one, there's a Subaru Legacy wagon. Like, there's a Legacy wagon here in town that is missing all of the back glass, the rear hatch, and the rear bumper off his car. And it was minus 30 a couple years ago. I was walking downtown, and he comes blowing by me, and I just pissed myself laughing. He was like, what are you doing, dude? First of all, that thing's on the road, which is hilarious.
Kat is located in Western Canada.
Yeah, I am in a little town called Sundre, Alberta, in Canada. For reference to the states, Alberta is above Montana. I am in central Alberta.
And like I said, community, not competition. You see a channel in here that interests you, go check them out. Hey, Robert, still here. Robert,
hey, he's here. Holy crap. I've seen him talking there.
No, because he's probably busy doing something else while he's watching the live stream. I have a lot of viewers that do that. They'll normally just leave the podcast running while they're busy working on their cars at night. There was Low Lid 50 does that a lot. He'll pop in and he'll be working on his Mercury or something, and will be joining the live stream, but he won't actually be in the conversation. He'll just be listening. Which is, I mean, granted, that's kind of what a podcast is, but we interact so much with the chat that you're kind of missing half of the live stream if you're not like actively listening to the chat, actively watching the chat. Because you guys have some conversations sometimes while we're busy up here on the screen having a conversation. You guys end up having your own conversation in the chat.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate the subs, guys.
Definitely. Check her out. She's got some cool videos.
Oh, yeah. My stuff, I will mention that my stuff is pretty basic without any editing, but I do have it so that eventually I will be editing, but for now, for my stuff that I'm doing, I don't need to. And it's kind of nice that
Windows
to do that. Yeah. Well, okay. And if it doesn't pop up, it's because you're spelling my name wrong.
Yeah, you got to make sure you spell it right. Yeah, he's not spelling it right.
No, he's not. That might be the reason why it's not popping up.
Yeah.
I mean, I can pull it up for it if you can.
Yes and no. I don't watch a lot of lives myself. I have ADHD. I literally cannot stay watching one live super long before my brain just gets bored as fuck. It's one thing being on the live. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to ask, because the guy's having issues trying to find my channel. Am I allowed to post a link there, or will StreamYard flag that?
It'll block you.
Okay, then I won't do that then.
You can... I can find it and see if I can post it.
Man, he's in Ontario. Yeah, there's an extra A in there.
Actually, they can go to my webpage. You should be... Yes, you're right on my... Go to my page and scroll down just underneath of my popular uploads, and you will see right next to Stuff with Cletus is her channel. She's stuffed right between Stuff with Cletus and Old Car Guy. You're in a car channel.
Oh, great!
Savage.
I'm in between two men.
I know.
Jeez.
Well, unfortunately, in a car channel group, unfortunately, there are more guy channels than girls. So, no, I did post the other day in the live stream chat that we have on Facebook. I did post plenty of female content creators that are automotive enthusiasts.
Yeah, I actually I don't know if I got that or not. But
might have been before you joined it.
Possibly. I mean, I have the chat muted a lot of the time. I don't see everything.
Oh, and then I don't say anybody has to have it. You know, I have it muted sometimes because there's some times where I'm busy and I don't need to be. I can't be having my phone going off every 10 seconds because it's distracting.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Holy crap. You know, when you don't check your notifications on YouTube on the computer, and it shows you that you have 112 notifications.
Right?
Because I never check it on the computer, so it's on my phone. The fact that the only time I open the computer is literally for these. Other than that, it never gets open.
I game on my computer too much. You don't put $2,000 into a computer for it to sit there on the desk.
What? Oh, come on! You're not like that.
No, I built my computer for not only doing my YouTube stuff but also for gaming. So,
wait, like my computer isn't great for gaming. That's why I don't do a lot of gaming on it. So,
if your computer is built for video editing and rendering and is capable of not just like getting by doing video editing and rendering, but literally purposely built to do it, it'll play any video game out there today.
Oh yeah, that's not what mine is though.
No, that's not what this one over here does either. But I mean, I got the biggest. I have the second biggest CPU that was out when I built this computer. Now, granted, they have a whole nother new series of AMD processors out since I built this computer, but and then I have the biggest graphics card that was out from AMD at the time. I have 32 gigs of RAM. This thing will kill any game on max settings. Does not care.
Yeah. Oh, well, Apocalypse, why did you buy a Mac? There's your problem right there.
Yeah. Because, well, if you bought a Mac, Macs are really good at video editing. But I cannot stand Macintoshes. Cannot. Apple computers, no. But like, to each his own.
My dad has a MacBook Air that he got off of work for free, but
Kat, my God. You should have been able to post a link. I forgot you are a moderator. But I don't know if even if YouTube might let you, but Streamlabs might still kick you off.
Well, let's find out. Just for shipping angles. I don't know. See if it pops up or not.
Yeah, I'm self-taught when it comes to video editing. Oh yeah, it did. It posted it, kind of. I don't know if that's a clickable link because it looks like it cut off the end of it.
Oh no, it does say dot on it. So.
Okay, so it's supposed to. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Okay, cool. Yeah, see, it did show the full link down there. It just didn't show it on the side there.
Okay. Alrighty.
Well, yeah, okay. So we can. Cool.
Alrighty, that works.
Yeah. For future reference.
And of course, Streamlabs has no problem spamming all of the links.
Exactly.
Spam my Discord, spam my Teespring. I need to get it to that way. It sends you to my my Hello Blue page, which has all my links on it, so that way it only has to spam one link. Oh.
Okay.
So, I think that it's winding down, and we're gonna catch you guys next week. Because it's getting late, I'm getting tired, and I think we had a really good conversation today, and seen some faces that I hadn't seen in a while, and kind of cool. Wish you guys come back more often, and see you guys next week. And obviously, as anytime that Kat is able to, she will be up here joining me. I think she really enjoys being here. And I do miss the Pikachu hat, though.
Where is it?
Though I'm not sure if the Pikachu hat would go with your outfit today.
Yeah, it probably doesn't, but, you know. The thing is, I decided it's the first day of spring. Why not wear a dress?
Right?
That's what I did. Yeah.
All right, so we'll catch you guys here next week, same time, same place, 9 p.m. Eastern, and might have a topic, or we might just free wing it like we normally do. It all depends. Probably will have an update if there is an update on the R.P.M. Act Up situation. What's going on with that? Like I said, if you haven't checked out SEMA's webpage and checked out their R.P.M. Act trying to help save our car hobby, please do so. And get the word out. Share it yourselves. Share it to any of your social media you have. Bring awareness to the fact that this is more of a punitive act than an actual environmental protection. So, until next time, catch you guys later.